Update internally, offense and defense, just looking at our offensive depth chart, not a lot has changed. We have a couple injuries we dealt with this past week that, to be honest with you, we didn't know how it was even going to shape out even at game time. John Lance did not play on Saturday, and then C.J. Robertson did see some limited time on Saturday, but we're expecting both of those individuals to be back this week. And right now, Paul McIntosh and Terrence Isaiah look doubtful for the weekend. So other than that, the depth chart's pretty consistent to the past several weeks. Defensively, even there, we did not take Lou Rogers and Luke Thuston on the trip. They had a concussion that they had been dealing with, and the symptoms just did not get any relief during the course of the week. So that was a decision that we made Thursday after practice, that they just better off not making the trip. So we went to the game with two safeties, Mike McElroy and Rashad Graham. Both those guys had a very good game, ended up being our players of the game, but both two got banged up in the game. But we're optimistic that Rashad should be back, and we'll know more on Mike at the end of the day here too. He's getting looked at by the doctors. So other than that, defensively, our depth chart's pretty consistent also with the other 9 positions that we've had. So that's just kind of a look internally, and just to kind of give a review offensively, defensively, and special teams of the past week. Watching the film offensively, we did make mistakes. It was one of those where we played a solid game, but we needed to be more of a factor. We were going up against a very good defense. Our offense did not put our defense in a bad situation. We moved the football, but the problem that we didn't do was just production of points when the opportunity was there. And the one thing that we're still looking for offensively, and that was an emphasis coming into the season, is just the big play factor. We need to have that presence within the offense, and I think once we get that established or have that happen, it'll open up a lot of things for us offensively. Defensively, watching the game, our effort was very impressive. If you look at some of the stats, we had 7 3-and-outs on the game. We had 9 tackle for losses. We had 3 fumble recoveries. And again, those are things that are telling you we're being very aggressive. We're playing pretty sound defense, but there's still considerable room for improvement. Our open field tackling, still want to get better at that. Our assignments, get better at that, and even being a little more aware of the situations that we're in. We need to do a better job of that too. So defensively, I think we're still a work in progress, but I do love the effort that we're giving out on the field. And then looking at our special teams from this past week, this was an area that I thought we probably didn't perform up to the level that we had hoped to be able to be a difference maker. In fact, we had 2 costly penalties in the game that were pretty significant. One was a holding that negated Ukukaloko's run out to midfield. Again, that's field position. That's giving your offense a chance to get started. Instead, we ended up deep in our own territory. And then the other penalty was a block in the back that was play. It really wasn't even necessary. Stephen McKinney ended up returning that punt for a touchdown. And just watching the film, you just kind of shake your head on that, and just those are the things that we're looking for that we need to do. And right now we had a couple penalties there that were very correctable, and we just have to pay more attention to detail. And on special teams too, we're still looking for that game-altering play where you can either regain the momentum or establish it. We've been very close. We just haven't been able to cross that gap. So that's just a few items within the team. As far as looking at our performance last week against Northern Iowa, and looking ahead this week back home, which is always good, and we're playing a very good Illinois State team. Their record is 5-3. They're a team that's getting better as the season progresses. I think with each game you see improvement, and you know, they're well coached. You know, that Coach Back now is their defensive coordinator, and I think when we start looking at their numbers, that's where their biggest improvement has been since last year, is on the defensive side of the ball. Just numbers that I'm impressed with. You know, you look at their rush average per game, they're only giving up 73 yards per game. You look at their total average of yards per game, they're averaging 383 and only giving up 298. You know, so they're playing good defense and they're moving the ball up and down the field. Another stat that I look at is their third down conversion percentage. They're at the 42% mark. Again, that's a very respectable number. And then another number that's extremely impressive for the defensive side is that they've had 31 sacks on the course of the season, and they've only given up 3 sacks. So, and they're a team that will throw the football a fair amount. So they're doing a lot of things right now, and they got momentum. They're a team that I think is in the playoff hunt. You know, they got 3 games left on their season remaining. They got an off week coming up. I think it's November 12th is their off week, but you know, they got a couple, 3 games here left that can kind of determine a lot for them. So we're going to have a team coming in here that's very hungry, very determined, and you know, that's our challenge that we got to be ready for. So with all that being said, questions? Coach,
defensively, they went from being one of the worst defenses in the league, or well, in the FCS last year, to basically a top 3 in the FCS. From what you've seen on film, what are the biggest changes that they're
making? Again, Coach Spack is a very good, you know, that's made his name as a defensive coordinator at Purdue. You know, I got a tremendous amount of respect for him and how he coaches, and I think that's a big part of it. And plus personnel, their defensive line, they've got some guys there that are pretty good, and they're getting pressure just with 4-man schemes. You know, their defensive line, a lot of what the sacks are getting are from them. You know, they got a good linebacker core. You know, their diffs are more solid in everything they're doing. They're not taking chances, and they're making offenses earn what they get. So that's what I would contribute, and they've gotten better. You know, watching the Eastern Illinois game, you know, at the beginning of the year to where they are right now, I mean, that's a completely different team. So the improvement has been positive.
Go ahead.
What's your biggest challenge running the football against that?
Running the football. I mean, it's just establishing. I mean, you got to be a Simon Sharp. You got to be. I mean, there's no running the football. There's no secret ingredients. You got to be able to handle your blocks up front. They got good defensive linemen, so there's some matchup issues that we'll be concerned with. You know, we got to make sure that you know, our blocking schemes, our players are confident in them. So it's when a team's playing good defense, there's no magic trick to make it work. You just got to go out and do it.
Can you speak to how good, you know, they have a pair of Illinois transfers, Palmer and I think it's Frierson, just how good they've been defensively for them?
Well, they fit into the schemes they've done, that they're doing. You know, they're just good athletes. You know, anytime you have good athletes, you're going to fit into the schemes that you're a part of, and you know, they got several Division I transfers that have done a good job contributing, and that's just where they've increased their talent level from last year to this year, and it's starting to pay off.
The last couple of games, your defense has given the ball to the offense within the 50-yard line. Ready. Do we really need more big plays, or do we need more consistent offense? Would you need a big play if you get the ball on 28-yard line? I guess big plays doesn't refer to yards.
No, we need to score.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bottom line. When we have an opportunity to score, we need to score. And in a big play, sometimes just making a play. In reference to Northern Iowa, we had them on 3rd and goal on their 18-yard line. I mean, we're getting pressure on them. We're hitting the quarterback as he's releasing the ball. He's just throwing it into a space, and their receiver sprints and makes a diving catch for a touchdown.
I don't think he saw the receiver.
He didn't see the receiver. He just knew that where the receiver should be, and that's making a play. That's a big play in the game. And you know, right now we're not quite on the same page with establishing that. So the consistency still has to be there. You get the ball inside the 50, you still need to get points on the scoreboard, whether it's a field goal, whether it's a touchdown. Now, if you get the ball inside the 20, that's where it's critical that you get touchdowns. But being able to make a play here or there that you just kind of say, wow, that's pretty good. So that's what we're looking for.
You mentioned they've only given up 3 sacks. Is their offensive line, is it as good as the stats would indicate?
Well, they're veteran. If you look at a lot of seniors up front, if I remember, it might even be all 5 are seniors. So, you know, that's a group that's been around for a while, and you know, that's when you got guys that have worked a lot together. You know, that number is usually going to be pretty good.
Is there any situation in the game this Saturday, aside from Corey getting injured, that we would see A.J. Hill in the game?
You could see A.J. at any point in time, and you could have seen him in the past couple games at any point in time. So, you know, A.J. has got to be ready, and he knows that. He's been working hard to prepare, and you know, that's just the nature of being the number 2 quarterback.
You mentioned Paul's not available this week. There's been some talk that his shoulder's not responding as well to treatment. Can you go into a little bit more detail about that?
No, I can't, because I don't understand it. So, you know, he's just not progressing, and he's not available.
You mentioned on your screen X and Y receivers. Are those different, so different that you couldn't move an X guy over to the Y receiving spot, or would they have to learn completely different plays?
It's you have to learn different schemes, and it's not as your X and your Z are the 2 receivers that are on the end. The Y is your tight end, where you know, so those are completely different. Then you get your slot, which is our H. You know, so there's a lot of learning that is involved every time you switch an X and a Z. But our receivers are expected to know every position. Our veteran receivers are very good at being able to make those transitions without much of a thought process. Our younger receivers are the ones that you worry about, because there are times when you got to think in complete reverse. You know, so what you were doing at X would have to be completely opposite if you were Z. And like I said, it takes a little time to translate all that.
What is Keon's status for Saturday?
Right now, we're planning on playing him. Haven't heard anything. Don't know what the status will be. So until we hear something, we'll continue to you know, proceed normally.
And as for Mike McElroy, is it a shoulder thing with him? I know you said he's getting examined by the doctor.
Yeah, he had what we think is a shoulder bruise. So that's what we're hoping. It's just a bruise and nothing more.
Are you moving anybody up to the safety positions from some other position, just in case?
Yeah, James McFadden played this
playing.
past game. Our corner took some safety spots, did a pretty good job. So, you know.
But he was one of your top cornerbacks too. So
Yeah. No,
who would you move in there?
Our corners, we've been rotating. If you notice,
Okay.
we've been playing a lot of corners between McFadden, Nick King, Courtney, Richmond has
Okay.
played quite a bit. So, you know, those are the 3 corners that have been rotating.
Does your guys' passing game become even more vital this week, just given the success of their run defense?
Well, the couple teams we played against had pretty good run defense too. I mean, we still got to do what we do best, and we still got to establish what we think we're best at, and you know, naturally you got to expand from that and be more productive. But you know, we got to do what we feel we do best to give ourselves a chance. And running the football, we need to be able to run the football. If we don't have that ability to run the football, then we put ourselves more at risk.
What do they do well? What do you think they do better offensively? Dale, pass or throw? They seem to do a little bit.
They're running more. I think they're not being more conservative, but they're being more traditional. They want to establish that run game. Leggett is a very good back. Transfer out of Michigan State. Came down between us and Illinois State, the schools that he was looking at. Yeah, so we're very familiar with him, and he's a load to bring down. He's not easy to tackle. And then they still have the passing abilities. Matt Brown's a very good quarterback that can light you up, and he has a core of receivers that are extremely impressive. Tyrone Walker has 44 receptions on the course of the season so far, and those are impressive numbers. And you look at the second and third leading receiver, they're not very far behind, so they're balanced. It's a 50-50, but they are more confident, I think, than ever in their run game.
Do they still run out of the spread for the most part, out of the shotgun? Or
They do a lot out of the shotgun. They have done some plays out of the under center, but the majority will be shotgun looks.
Has your training staff given you a new timetable for McIntosh? 2 weeks, 4 weeks?
There's
or
no,
just don't
right
know?
now we're just seeing if he can get better.
Is there a possibility he would need surgery?
Well, most likely surgery will happen at the end of the season. We just have to see if we feel there's going to be an improvement at all.
Yeah.
That's what we're waiting on.
You had mentioned Boo was going to see the doctor. Would you say he's questionable for this?
No, Boo's not seeing the doctor. McElroy.
Mike is.
Yeah. And Boo's been cleared.
You think he's going to be?
Yeah,
cleared
Boo
for
and Luke have been cleared.
I don't know if you worked out on Sunday, but do you expect a better focus from your team? To have 4 straight losses, and now they're probably out of the playoffs, and now you're trying to move forward.
And Todd, we were pretty focused this past week. We probably had one of the best weeks of preparations since I've been here this last week. It's I'm not going to put the onus on not being prepared right now. We're just, we got to take the next step as a team and do something a little bit better. And, when we have an opportunity, and we just got to know when that opportunity is and take advantage of it. It's our guys are working their tail off right now. I'm not criticizing any of the coaches or players about not working hard, because right now we're doing everything we possibly can to be ready to play this game.
What was your message to the team in the locker room after the game on Saturday?
It was emotional. Our guys were had hurt. It was one, you could tell the game meant a lot to them. There were tears. It was just one of those things when you're trying that hard to do something and you're just not quite there yet. That's tough. It's tough as an athlete. It's tough as a coach, and that's the nature of athletics. And when you walk into a locker room at the end of a game, you're never quite sure what to expect as a head coach. But what I saw on Saturday, I know this team cares, and they definitely have not given up. And I know come Tuesday, we're going to be putting our best effort forward.
Is this one of the closest teams you've been a part of coaching?
They like each other. I mean, to the point I even told them sometimes that might be a negative for us, is we like each other too much. I mean, they enjoy each other's company. We got some characters, and that part of being part of this team is fun. But at the same time, we got to know when to go to work, and that's my job to remind them when that time is.
Can you talk about Boatwright's performance last 3 games? I think he's had a sack every game, a tackle for loss every game.
And the thing you got to remember with Kenny Boatwright, this is his first year playing on the defensive line. He's been a safety prior to, so he's one of those individuals that's continuing to improve as the season progresses. He's becoming more comfortable. You just watch his movement on film, and you don't see the thought process anymore. You just see a reaction process. So, hopefully we'll continue to see him being noticed, being seen in the backfield, because I think his best football is definitely still in front of him.
What have you seen other teams try to do with him?
Well, it's like you do with any, you gotta do what you do. Again, there's no magic blocking schemes that's gonna take care of anybody, but, that's, you look for matchups, that's what we try to see. If we get a matchup when he's down on the guard, we'll try to do that. If we feel our best matchups up on the tackle, we'll do that. So, you can probably do more defensively than what offensively can do in certain matchups.
Were you surprised when he tried out that he had been playing safety, just given his size?
Yeah, well, he's grown lately. I mean, it's one of those where, in fact, I went to his high school last spring, and they said, "You see that kid standing over there? That's how big Kenny was when he was in high school, and it wasn't a very big kid, So I can see their amazement at how Ken has developed into this defensive end who has some incredible skills, and that's one of those success stories that's just you love hearing it because that's what makes sports fun.
I thought Coda had a really good game too.
Chance did, yeah.
He was all over the back.
He was our defensive player of the week. So, and coaches thought so. Also, did have some of the stats, but you're right. His presence was known. You noticed him during the course of the game, and that's good to see Chance having his game at that level.
Coach, I'm doing a story on John Good and his back problems. His SI joint comes in and out. In your experience, is that a common injury for fullbacks?
No. I'm an old fullback myself. I've never heard of an SI injury until just a few years ago, and I probably was more common, but it had never been diagnosed to the point that it is now, and it's a frustrating injury because there's just so little they can do, and it takes a lot of time to bring you back.
What about the bulging disc? Is that a common injury for
a bulging
fullbacks?
disc? That's been around for a while, and those are always concerns anytime at any position. It's a contact sport, and you always worry about the spine and protecting the spine.